Hey, I want to talk about one thing you mentioned earlier about these spontaneous protests around America, that it brings people out of the woodwork, that it shows people they're not alone. Because I think if you only consume your news through the mainstream media, or even worse, through social media, through Twitter, if you follow official legacy media sources, you would be completely dispirited. You would think Trump's going to get absolutely destroyed, and maybe he will be, we'll find out. But by seeing other people, especially other unlikely Republicans, Latinos for Trump, gays for Trump, Jews for Trump, I think that it helps people know, no, I'm not crazy. I sort of like Trump despite all his flaws. And to see other people of their same background say so creates a momentum. Just since the debate, the number of black rappers who have come out for Trump. I mean, I'm not putting a lot of intellectual stock in 50 Cent or Lil Pump. I think Ice Cube was a little bit more thoughtful about it. But now there's a real debate. If you're a black American, do you have to be taken for granted? Do you have to obey Biden when he says, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black? I think that when that peer-to-peer momentum building is probably as persuasive as anything someone on TV news says. I don't know. I don't want to let myself hope too much because I always think it's better to have lower expectations. I think Trump could win this thing other than, vote rigging and vote theft.
He's definitely in a position where he can win. That's how things feel right now. And I would say it is similar to 2016, where he has a lot of forces against him. The forces are much stronger now and much more determined to prevent him from winning than they were in 2016. But it's the same array of forces against him: the media, the Democrats, the tech companies, and he's also got Wall Street against him. He's being massively outspent and outraised. So it looks like 2016, and yet he's in a position, just like 2016, where he can win. You mentioned the hip hop stars and rappers and so forth. Ice Cube, I don't think he endorsed Trump, but what's interesting is his description of his experience of working with the Trump administration is in some ways more effective than an endorsement. He said he spoke to the Biden campaign, he spoke to the Trump campaign about his contract with Black America. And the Biden campaign says, we'll talk to you after the election. And the Trump administration brought him in for a 3-hour meeting, and they incorporated his suggestions into their platinum plan for Black America. And that's what Ice Cube has been telling people, not that he's for or against any particular politician, but people can just judge for themselves which of the two politicians is more interested in adopting ideas that are crafted by someone who's really got the welfare of Black Americans at heart. And that's been very interesting. Then you have 50 Cent saying he doesn't like Joe Biden's tax plan. He's going to vote for Trump because he doesn't want to be 20 Cent, because he would lose 60 cents on the dollar if he remains in New York State. And that's having an effect. I think Black voters are being courted in a way by Trump that they've never been courted by any politician on the Republican or Democratic side before. And I think it's immensely empowering. And some people are really noticing that this could be an election where Trump wins because of minority support. He doesn't have to win most votes in the Black community or even in the Latino community, but look at the Latino community. In California, there's a set of polls out recently showing that Trump's Latino support is almost 3 times what it was in 2016. In 2016, October 2016, he had 12% among Latino voters in California. Now he has 33%, and that's up 8% already from 25% in September. What is happening that is driving this turnout? Some of it is the economic shutdowns. Latino voters are also workers and want to go back to work. What's preventing people from going back to work? The school shutdowns. Well, look what happened between September and October. The schools didn't reopen in a lot of these blue states. And so you have a lot of people who are being forced to stay at home to supervise their children's Zoom classes, which they don't really want to do. They want to be out there working, earning money, and they can't. And I think there's a possibility that Trump will peel off enough support from these minority communities that it puts him over the top in a lot of these battleground states. So we're living through a really, really interesting week, and I think it's going to be intense. It's going to be fun for Trump supporters. The Trump supporters seem to be enjoying this. They feel the wind at their backs. They feel they've got the momentum, and they know this is within reach. So I think it's going to be interesting. Joe Biden spending most of his time in the basement. He's trying to turn this into a referendum on Trump. He doesn't want to say anything about his own policies, doesn't want to answer questions. Anytime he's asked a question, he makes it about Trump. So it could be that the American public are sick of Trump and people want to get rid of him and they're indifferent as to what replaces him. That could swing the election to Biden. So we'll see which of those two forces is stronger. But right now, in football terms, I describe it as follows. Joe Biden is playing the prevent defense, and Donald Trump is running the no-huddle offense. And if you've got a good quarterback and your receivers can get open, the no-huddle offense wins every time. So right now, you'd say that the Trump campaign is probably down, maybe even by a touchdown or so, but they have the no-huddle offense against the prevent defense. And what Joe Biden is trying to do is, in a way, contemptuous, because he's not even asking the American people for their vote. So we'll see how it turns out. But I think every day that goes by is a good day, a better day than the one before for Donald Trump.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.